Good morning. I'm here with Laurent MIGNON of WENDEL. He is the CEO. And WENDEL is an investment firm which also has outside capital, but is majority owned by a family. Good morning, Laurent.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Well, great. We're happy to be here.
Good. We like to hear that. You've just come off your panel, and we talk about that in a bit. But I wanted to ask you first. Last year, you launched a new strategy, and you launched a strategy for third-party asset management, which is different to what you had before because you had balance sheet money only, and now you have third-party funds. Why did you do that?
Well, it's a great question, but I think when I joined a little bit more than a year ago, one of my goal was to really rethink the strategy of Wendel and to see how we can create something which will be sustainable for the future. And one of the characteristics of an investment firm, a holding company, we say that invests in many different companies, is the fact that it creates value, it creates wealth, but it doesn't create regular stream of revenues because the result of your investment are by definition non-recurring. However, as a listed company, you have to pay regular dividend to your shareholders to return money to them and to have a predictable stream of revenue for them. So the way to generate revenues for us was to create a business where you have regular business from your strategy based on something you know well. And what do we know well is investing the money from the family, but also from the company and potentially from third party. That's why we say we want now to have two legs. One leg which is still keeping on investing long-term money and creating value through that, but also creating a business that generates fees when we do the same for other companies as a third-party asset management. And that's why we've decided to create this dual model where we have both investment firm on one side and creating a true asset management on the other one, benefiting from the fact that we have a strong permanent capital base.
So your shareholders like predictability, like all shareholders.
Yes.
Has this been reflected in your share price?
Well, we're at the beginning of the journey, yes. So it's a strategy intention. Yes. We've started on that by making a first transaction in 2023, which is the partnership we've done with IK Partners. Yes. We've bought the majority of the capital of IKs and creating a long relationship with them. And we think this is the first step of a strategy that will, deploy within time and will be reflected then in the value of the shares within time.
And despite the difficult environment last year, you think it was the right time to do this?
Well, I think the private equity industry is really at a turning point. This is an industry where after years of easy growth, we are entering in a more difficult period where raising money is more difficult than it has been for many reasons. We all know about it and everybody knows it. But also it's a period where we are close to a generation change. Many of the firms in the private equity have been created 10, 15 years ago, or have started to grow significantly after the great financial crisis. And now you've got a generation that have to pass over to the next one. And the values of these assets of this GP is so big that getting that done is very difficult. And sure, the cost of doing this business has increased. So all of that leads to the fact that there is a significant potential to consolidate the industry, a need to consolidate and to create some platform. And I think it's the right moment that a firm that has some permanent capital can bring to those companies and help them, managing those periods, both by bringing seed money to help them raise funds, by managing this transition in generation, and by allowing through a platform the fact that you can mutualize some elements that are not essential as investors in order to reduce costs, both distribution and potentially the backbone, the back office. That's why I think it's effectively the right moment.
So Laurent, Wendel has been around for 320 years already. That means you must have a very special magic sauce. Can you tell us about it a little bit?
Well, the secret sauce is really to know what you have to focus on when you buy a GP. When you buy a GP, basically you're buying two things. You're buying a team and its ability to generate sustainable performance for its clients, the LPs. So you need to make sure that whatever the way you structure the transaction and you organize the governance, you will keep this team engaged for the future, long term, and do what they do well, investing and creating sustainable value for their clients. So for us, it's very important that we don't disturb that and we create the environment so that they can do that better than ever. So that's number one. And the second thing is you're buying LP relationship. So you need to make sure that whenever you do a transaction and you create that platform, you don't create elements of conflict of interest with the LPs as a shareholder of the GP. And really when we made the transaction with IK, we focused very strongly on those two elements to make sure that in no case LP could find themselves in conflict of interest and that we can be, reducing the ability of the team to create that long-term value. What do we bring more? We bring also the fact that we can seed existing strategy. As I mentioned, we can seed new strategy and help those companies grow, and also bringing them the possibility to be part of a larger organization, a larger platform that, as we mentioned, will mutualize distribution, will mutualize back office in order to reduce the cost of doing their business. So I think this is really a compelling value proposition that we bring to the table. And we have a good sense of where do we want to intervene, strategy, compliance, element like that, but we don't want to interfere at all. And the team has to be very independent in the investment strategy. So we know what we bring, and we are, I think, as I mentioned, a compelling alternative to a GP stake or to an IPO. And that's really how we will bring and create that platform forward.
That's very interesting, Laurent. We'll be watching you to see what happens over the next couple of years and how successful you're going to be. Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.